It's waiting. One man, a paranormal investigator, in 2019, described it like this. You don't realize how long the night is until you're sitting there, in total darkness, listening to a house breathe around you. He set up his recorder in the kitchen, where footsteps were often reported. He leaned back in his chair, lights off, headphones in, listening to the static hum. For the first few hours, nothing. Just wood creaking and the occasional tap of old pipes. But around 3 a.m., everything changed. The air pressure dropped, his ears popped, and from somewhere deep in the house, he heard it. A woman's voice, low, drawn out, whispering his name. He froze. His name wasn't public. No one else was in the house. Then, the recorder picked up footsteps. Not just one set, multiple. Heavy boots across the wooden floor. Light, hurried steps across the ceiling. Something brushing against the walls. The investigator swore he saw movement in the kitchen doorway. A shadow, wider than the frame, standing there in the dark, watching him. When he played back the recording later, it was worse, clearer. The woman's whisper was there, but so was something else. A growl, guttural, layered beneath her words. The tape ended with his own chair scraping against the floor, followed by the sound of his breath quickening. He left the house that night and never came back. And that was just one night in a house with centuries of fear carved into its walls. The house's history. The Conjuring House, officially known as the Old Arnold Estate, sits in Harrisville, Rhode Island. Built in 1736, it has stood for nearly 3 centuries, witnessing lives, deaths, and tragedies that left stains deeper than paint. The Arnold family, early owners of the farmhouse, recorded multiple deaths on the property. Children drowned in the nearby creek. Workers died in accidents. Women were rumored to have taken their own lives in the attic. Locals whispered about curses long before the Perron family moved in. But it wasn't until 1970 that the farmhouse's reputation became infamous. That year, Roger and Carolyn Perron bought the house for themselves and their 5 daughters. They thought it was a dream. Acres of land, a big farmhouse, and history in every brick. But within days, they realized something was wrong. The first signs were small. Brooms went missing. Piles of dirt appeared on freshly cleaned floors. Carolyn noticed a smell of rotting flesh in certain rooms. The children began seeing figures, some friendly, others terrifying. The most chilling was Bathsheba Sherman, a woman tied to the property by legend. Bathsheba was accused of witchcraft in the 1800s. Locals claimed she sacrificed an infant on the property, dedicating it to Satan. Though she was never convicted, her reputation never cleared. And according to the Perrons, her spirit never left. The Perron hauntings. The Perron family lived inside the Conjuring House for nearly a decade, and each year, the experiences became darker. At first, the children saw playful spirits. One daughter recalled a man who smiled kindly and helped her find lost toys. Another described an old woman who tucked her into bed at night. But not all of them were friendly. Andrea Perron described seeing a figure with a twisted face, jaw hanging open, eyes hollow, skin gray like rotting flesh. It leaned over her bed at night, breathing heavily. She said it felt so real that she could smell the decay. Her mother, Carolyn, suffered the worst. She claimed invisible hands slapped her, pinched her, even stabbed her with a knitting needle. Her energy drained. She grew frail, like something was feeding off her. One afternoon, Carolyn was in the barn when a loud, guttural voice shouted her name. She turned and saw a figure hanging from the rafters, swaying in the dim light. She screamed. But when Roger rushed in, there was nothing there. The family turned to Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens were among the most famous paranormal investigators in America, known for handling cases of possession and demonic hauntings. Lorraine claimed that the Conjuring House was unlike anything she'd felt before. The atmosphere was saturated with evil. They held a seance in 1974. That night remains one of the most infamous events in the farmhouse's history. Andrea Perron, only 12 at the time, described watching her mother's body twist unnaturally. Carolyn screamed, her voice deeper than her own. At one point, she was thrown across the room by an unseen force. Andrea said, "It wasn't my mother's face anymore. It was something else. Something that hated us." The seance ended abruptly when Roger dragged Carolyn away, furious and terrified. The Warrens insisted the house was infested with a demonic entity, likely Bathsheba Sherman, the woman rumored to have cursed the land centuries earlier. The Perrons stayed in the house until 1980. They couldn't afford to leave sooner. When they finally moved, they left with nothing but trauma. Andrea Perron has since written books documenting the haunting, insisting that every detail was true. Her words are chilling. The house doesn't just have ghosts. It has a darkness that never leaves. After the Perrons, when the Perrons left, the house didn't go quiet. Subsequent owners reported disturbances almost immediately. Doors slamming, footsteps pacing at night, cold spots so sharp they burned your skin. Neighbors whispered that no family lasted long inside the farmhouse. For decades, the property remained private, but local teenagers dared each other to sneak onto the grounds. Many swore they saw lights flickering in empty windows or shadows crossing the yard. Some said they heard a woman's scream echo from the attic. In the 1990s, a new family moved in. They tried to dismiss the house's reputation, but within months, they admitted they couldn't deny the activity. They reported constant knocking sounds, chairs scraping across floors, and whispers that seemed to follow them from room to room. Investigators began requesting access. Paranormal teams documented the activity EVPS, electronic voice phenomena, capturing voices saying, "Get out." Shadow figures caught on camera walking through doorways. Sudden drops in temperature that froze equipment. One investigator described sitting in the basement when his recorder captured a woman's voice whispering, "I'm still here." He was alone. The rise of the Conjuring films. In 2013, Hollywood released The Conjuring, based on the Perron family's experiences. Overnight, the farmhouse went from a local legend to one of the most famous haunted houses in the world. The film dramatized the Perron's story, adding cinematic flair. But the core, Bathsheba Sherman, the Warrens' seance, and the torment inside those walls, was rooted in what the family swore was real. After the film's success, paranormal tourism skyrocketed. The owners were flooded with requests to investigate the property. In 2019, paranormal enthusiasts Corey and Jennifer Heinsohn purchased the house. They opened it to investigators, journalists, and filmmakers. What followed was some of the most compelling modern evidence of hauntings anywhere in the U.S. Teams documented figures walking through walls, objects moving in locked rooms, recordings of women crying when no one was present. Even hardened skeptics admitted the house felt wrong. Modern investigations. The Heinsohns described their nights as a battle. Corey said, "Some nights it's quiet. Others, it feels like the walls are alive." They reported doors opening on their own, disembodied voices calling their names. One night, Jennifer said she was woken by the feeling of someone stroking her hair. In 2021, the Travel Channel aired Ghost Adventures, The Conjuring House. Zach Baggins and his crew spent the night inside. Their investigation captured unexplained voices, objects falling, and Zach himself overcome with nausea and dizziness, symptoms other visitors had reported. Guests allowed to stay overnight told the same stories. A shadowy woman seen walking in the kitchen, beds shaking violently at night, a deep growl recorded in the basement. Even skeptics left uneasy. The 2025 auction, and now, in 2025, The Conjuring House is being auctioned. On Halloween night, October 31st, the most haunted house in America will go to the highest bidder. The auction announcement shocked both believers and skeptics. Paranormal investigators fear what could happen if someone careless buys it. Locals wonder if the curse will spread to whoever takes ownership. The house is infamous, not just from the Perron's accounts, but from centuries of tragedy. Buying it isn't just real estate. It's taking responsibility for whatever waits inside. The auction listing doesn't downplay it either. The property is advertised openly as America's most haunted farmhouse. And that's the chilling part. It's not just a house, it's a trap. Because history has shown, no matter who owns it, the house always wins. Right now, the Conjuring House sits in Rhode Island. Weathered wood, empty windows, fields stretching into the dark. But it isn't empty. Every family that's lived there has left scarred. Every investigator has carried something back with them. And now, with the auction approaching, the house is preparing to choose its next victim. Would you step inside? Could you spend the night knowing Bathsheba's shadow might stand at the foot of your bed? Could you listen to the silence of a house that breathes? The Conjuring House doesn't care if you believe. It doesn't care if you laugh or roll your eyes. Because once the doors close, it's just you in the dark. And the dark always whispers back.